They want to raise Social Security retirement age to 68. And it's not Mike Johnson. My goodness, Mike Johnson. It's not him. You ready? I'll read it to you. Even the creators of the Social Security system were aware of potential funding problems. In 1935, Treasury Secretary Henry Morgenthau Jr. and Harry Hopkins, head of the Federal Emergency Relief Administration, were members of the President's Council on Economic Security. One afternoon, when Hopkins was at home ill, he received a phone call from Morgenthau, who had just seen figures projecting Social Security expenditures in 1980 at over $1 billion. When Hopkins asked Morgenthau if he anticipated difficulties in securing congressional approval for a $25 to $30 million pension bill, $25 to $30 million, the conversation took this turn. Not this year, says Morgenthau, but it's the things that it runs into. Hopkins, well, there are going to be twice as many old people 30 years from now, Henry, than there are now. Morgenthau, well, I've got a very good analysis of this thing, and I'm going to lay it on her lap, Frances Perkins, the Secretary of Labor under FDR. I'm simply going to point out the danger spots, and it's up to somebody else to say whether they want to do it. I'm not trying to say what they should do. I'm just trying to point out the bad curves. Hopkins, this old thing is a bad curve. What is a bad curve? We see several Western nations are now living the bad curve that Hopkins and Morgenthau had discovered 40 years previously, which was also predicted by congressional sponsor of the original Social Security legislation. Is that the bad curve is a product of declining ratio between the number of employed people and the number of retired, between those who provide support, between those who provide support and those who are being supported. The United States of 1970 retained some of the pyramid quality, i.e. kind of like in Mexico, where they had huge amounts of young people and few amounts of old people. The United States of 1970 retained some of that pyramidal quality, but not much. Since 1880, demographic trends have aged the American population and contributed to an increase in the relative number of dependents. The fertility rate of American women, the number of births for each 1,000 women of childbearing age, was 66.7 in 1975, well below the previous low of 78.5 during the Great Depression, and close to half the birth rate of the post-war baby boom years of 1957. Does this sound familiar? Yes, it does. So check this out. Right here. Here's Peter Drucker. According to Peter Drucker, the end of the post-war baby boom will soon produce a general labor shortage. Never heard that. Regarding that general labor shortage that Drucker is predicting because of baby bust, of which I'm part of, here's Senator Williams in a testimony in the Senate. I think we put the finger on the problem as we observe that it's just the opposite, i.e. we don't have enough people as opposed to have too many people in the workplace. The guy said, no, we have just the opposite. Trying to get younger people interested in coming to employment has been the problem, particularly in coal mining, certainly in the millwork and tailoring and things like that. The younger people are just not interested. The older people are needed because there are so few people. Where have we heard that before? That's in 1975. All right, let's keep going. So check this out. You want to see something fun? I'll show you congressional testimony here. We're going to show you right here. Mandatory retirement age. This is in Mandatory Retirement, the Social and Human Costs of Enforced Idleness Report, United States Congress, 1977. Dear Juanita Krebs, Secretary of Commerce, under who? Oh, under Jimmy Carter. As chairman, and this is written from, who's this guy who writes this? Claude Pepper, all right, Mr. Pepper, Dr. Pepper. As chairman of the House Committee on Aging and principal author of the bill, which would extend protections against age-based mandatory retirement, I am shocked by your proposal to withhold full Social Security benefits until recipients reach the age of 68. I encourage you to reconsider this issue and withdraw your proposal. Right here. Raising the age under Social Security would have a greater trust fund impact than eliminating mandatory retirement, because back then they had this mandatory retirement at 65. And the congressional, what they're doing right here is they're trying to eliminate that mandatory retirement. But the issue is a lot of people saying, we need mandatory retirement or else old people stay working and a lot of young people won't be able to come replace their jobs. And they actually, it's interesting too, they put in some racial terms as well. So check this out. Here's a guy writing in, very interesting, writing in the Washington Post, Nicholas von Hoffman. Prior to 1960, said this guy writing in 1977, the fear of the fire bell of the night was a bad emotion for every white gut. They didn't want to hear a fireplace going off in your house. Then we had Burn Baby Burn of the 1960s, and the whites found out that the night dream of slave rebellion was worse than actuality. White America knows it can tough out any rebellion. It can tough out any long, hot summer black adolescence may heat up. White America knows they can tough it out. So the fear was much worse than the actual slave revolt and the Watts riots, the Shaw riots, and all that in the 1960s. And then interesting, that was written in 1977 in the Washington Post, because the point was they were worried about too many young and blacks not working and the revolutionary nature that would cause because too many old people were still in the workforce. This whole promise with Social Security to begin with. They want to get the old people out. But the old people say, I got no money. How am I going to leave? I need to eat. And so they said, we're going to have Social Security as a way to basically, and there was a huge unemployment in the Great Depression. So we wanted old people gone so young people could replace them. That's literally what it was. It had nothing to do with Grandma Jones getting a freaking a chicken in every pot. Nothing to do with that. I mean, a little bit. But mostly is to do to get old people removed from the labor force so the young people, the revolutionaries, could have jobs. So then they had mandatory retirement at 65, and now we're arguing in 1970s, and this is under Carter, that they're no longer worried about right here. Hold on a second. They no longer. There's a guy from the AFL-CIO. He says, in an economy suffering from general unemployment, and particularly declining industries such as coal mining and millery, mandatory retirement is an essential mechanism for the allocation of income and work. We want to encourage older people to retire in favor of young workers not entitled to the long-term protection of Social Security. The critical ingredient in the allocation is the ability of each age to survive without work. So basically what the AFL-CIO was saying, look, man, if you have all these young people without jobs, it's going to be revolutionary. You know, be hot in the street. You know, the Shaw riots and whatnot for blacks and the young people as a whole, they might become more and more communistic and revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, but then the guy says, no, we don't have. It's not like the Great Depression. We have a work shortage. We don't have enough young people going to these jobs. Never heard that before. Check this out. Retirement was still largely a social tool designed to achieve specific gains such as unemployment relief and efficiency. It was not yet conceptualized as a period of leisure granted as a reward of lifetime of work, and policymakers were not much concerned with the total experience of the retired person. They're more concerned with the people who were left behind who couldn't find jobs. I'm telling you, that's the whole premise of Social Security. But anyway, then at some point they said, look, they even said back then, Morgenthau and Harry Hopkins, we're not going to have enough money. There's not enough people paying into it where we are now. So what do we do? And they basically kick the can. Until now we got the Carter administration, and Krebs is saying, no, we got a mandatory retirement age of 68. And guess what happened? Let's keep going. Part of the matter is that during the 70s and 80s, and this is published in the 80s, but during the 70s, unemployment is not now seen as a major economic or social problem, nor is it expected to be one in the late 70s and early 80s. So thus, we don't need to have mandatory retirement to get old people off the rolls so young people can work. Now let's keep going here, though. Raising the retirement, we already talked about this, I'm going to say it again. Raising the eligibility age under Social Security would have a greater trust fund impact than eliminating mandatory retirement, which surely explains the attention the idea had received. Commerce Secretary Juanita Krebs are considering withholding full Social Security benefits until people reach the age of 68. Although Krebs has stressed the goal of extending the work life beyond 65, the explicit function of such a step would be to reduce the burden on the Social Security system. Yep. Then we got House Republicans have formally proposed raising the Social Security retirement age from 65 to 68 between the ages of between 1990 and 2001. Did that ever happen? No. They want to raise it to 67. Who was responsible for that, dude? We got president, and who raised these things? The Democrats in the Congress, Republican in the presidency. It's a bipartisan thing. It's going to be a bipartisan thing here either. And all these idiots say, oh, Mike Johnson wants it. And I just actually read, let me see if I can't find it. As a reminder, Social Security, Jimmy Carter was a Democrat, just in case you did not know. So Juanita Krebs or whatever her name was as a Democrat as well. Jimmy Carter was actually more of a free market guy than Richard Nixon. Just want you to know that. I'd vote for Jimmy Carter in 2 seconds flat over Richard Nixon. I'll tell you that right now. If I knew, knowing what I know now about Nixon's presidency, it was a no-brainer. So no wonder why Carter beat Gerald Ford, because people are like, dude, I can't vote. It's kind of like when Bush lost to Clinton. People like the Republican Party. Remember, Rush Limbaugh wasn't voting for freaking Bush. Rush Limbaugh was against Perot, but it turned out Perot knew a lot more than we gave him credit for. All right, so here's this article in Market Watch. Can you hear those guys? No comments. This is what Mike Johnson said about Social Security and Medicare. I love this part right here. Johnson's back cutting benefits and raising the age of eligibility, just like the Democrats did. But check this out. This is fantastic. I find it funny, too, all these people screaming bloody murder about the Republicans going to raise Social Security. Well, they're doing it to keep it intact, man. I mean, give me a break. What are the Democrats' proposals? I mean, literally, what do we? At least they're proposing something. Everyone wants more Pablo. Hi. Hi. Huh? Where's Mom? Where's Mama? Where'd Mama go? I know. Where is she? Where's Mama? She's coming back tonight? Yeah. That is loud. All right, so let's read what old Johnson says here. All right, so I thought this was fantastic. We're going to look at what he says about CPI. Right here, quick, just side note. But Josh, they're going to take away Social Security. What are you going to do for health care? I'm on Medicare. Okay, are you now? They're a big guy. So on current projections, Medicare is due to run out in 2031, the trust fund. Okay, so you're going to be on Medicare, but you're not on Social Security. That makes sense. All right. I love this right here, though. And see, this doesn't bother me so much. On Social Security, Johnson's committee in 2019 proposed ending all cost of living adjustments for retirees with annual income of $85,000 for single people, $170 for joint filers. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, single people at $85,000 is just, that's not. I would say get rid of COLAs for the people making $250 single and $500 married. That's fine. I got no problem with that. I mean, whatever. But I don't even want to do that. It's just still not fair, man. You're targeting a group of people because of their income. That's not fair. I don't like that. I've told you what I would do instead, but check this out. I loved what he said right here. As it proposed scaling back future COLAs for everyone else by changing the official inflation rate and calculation 2 ways. Dude, have I been telling you guys this? Do you guys listen to what I say? The Social Security COLA that you get is better than the cost of living adjustment that it's costing you. The COLA for Social Security is so much more beneficial than people give it credit for. And Mike Johnson understood it. I was shocked. I was like, holy crap, I thought I was the only guy who recognized this. First, they proposed from switching one technical inflation measure, CPI-W to CPI-U, is pretty doggone close. There's not a huge difference between. CPI-U is more encompassing than CPI-W, but it's almost identical. And they proposed excluding the rising cost of housing, which includes rents, from the inflation figures because they said the vast majority of retirees own their homes. So this is not a cost increase many experience. Yep. Based on these inflation numbers since 2000, each of these changes would decrease the annual COLA by 10%. Now, I don't want them to do that, but I tell you, Social Security doesn't keep up with inflation. Just wrong, dude. You're just flipping wrong. Oh my goodness. It does keep up with inflation, and more than inflation, because inflation is a huge portion of that is based on OER, owner's equivalent rent, and renting itself, which never mind transportation. Are you buying a new car every year? No. Are you buying a new home every year? No. You're changing your rent price every year? No. Then who gives a rat's behind? That's 50% of CPI. Anyway, which is why I don't have it here. Read my book, Retirement, Relax and Retire. Anyway, so I don't want that to happen because I love getting my freaking COLAs on Social Security when I got my house paid. I think it's freaking great. But, I mean, that makes sense. You just say, no, man, you guys are getting COLA, cost of living adjustment for inflation that's not there for you. Now, everyone will scream bloody murder, so that's why you got to couch it. You got to couch it with freaking tax hikes on the wealthier. I got no qualm with that, dude. None whatsoever. In the thing, I'm in the shade, I'm in the thing. All right. Anyways, that's good stuff. So they've been talking about this for years and years and years. It didn't happen until, the Democrats passed legislation to raise retirement age to 60. When did they pass this? 1993 bill was 1983. They passed a law to gradually raise the age because people are living longer and generally healthier in old age. Yep. They raised the full retirement age beginning with people born in 1938 or later, and then gradually for people reaching 67, born in 1960 or later. Yep. So what did they actually change? I think in 2000. I think in 1993 is when they increased the second bend point of taxation of Social Security. I'm not sure what else they did. Maybe they raised the payroll tax. Now, I got no problem doing that either. I mean, that's just a fact. Anyway, been talking about this for years. Bipartisan. Don't just stop with this. Oh, Mike, I hate like Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Mike Johnson. I just like, oh, it's, dude, your own people have done. The politicking, the partisan politics. It's so freaking. It's like dumb, man. It's like when people do that, just say, are you dumb? It's just dumb. Anyway, love your thoughts. Don't forget, if you like these videos, you want to buy me a cup of coffee, it's a doobie-doo. It's $5 for a cup of decaf. Your old buddy Josh. I'm worth it, baby. Look at this cuteness. If I'm not worth it, think about Pablo. Yeah, Pablo's like, please give me some money so I can eat. My dad doesn't feed me. All right, we'll see ya.